Hello and welcome here on the Tunze YouTube channel. We were very lucky. We just come from the ReefAPalooza here in Dallas. We found Jeff. He actually invited us to his home. I'm very honored to be here. I'm very happy that we can show you his tank and his passion. And because normally I am the face of the company, here in the US, Roger is the face of the company. So I'm gonna handle over to him.
Joe always would tell me about your tank, and this is the first time I'm seeing it in person. I understand you built the tank yourself.
No, I used to build tanks.
Okay.
This was built by James at Envision Acrylics.
Okay.
Used to be Acrylics on RC, Reef Central.
Yeah.
Out of Oregon. This was a custom order tank from him I've had since I think it was shipped and arrived in 2006 or 2007 and wasn't formally set up until 2008.
Well, what I like the most about your tank is it's the classic corals that I remember when I got in, and you've got some of the newer stuff, but the green finger leather, how long have you had that?
That's been around probably in excess of 15 years, I would say. So,
I mean, you don't see that really anymore. And the toadstool is just huge.
yeah, the toadstool came in actually on a tridactyd clam. It was attached to the shell, and the clam ended up dying, but saved the shell. And this guy grew out, and then we propagated off the other guy there. The largest individual ended up splitting on their own and became this guy over here. There was a cutting taken off of the smaller one over here, which has since been passed to Joe and is living in a reef tank in Austin right now.
And the original pulsing xenia, I mean, you don't see that pure white xenia much anymore either.
That's been handed back and forth, I think, between me and Joe. And it comes and goes. Like, it had dwindled down to probably next to nothing during a period when the tank was in distress. And now it's come back and pulses like crazy. So I'm super happy to have it.
And from what I understand, you had a catastrophe, and that's one of the most valuable lessons. And the reef keepers that survive are the ones that endure.
Right. We did a remodel down here on the first floor, and the painters came in, and even though I had diligently taped everything off, they untaped it and sprayed around the tank and got paint into the tank, paint thinner and all kinds of stuff. I came back to find a clown that was gasping for breath, ended up dying 24 hours later, and there was probably about a 4-foot high level of foam in my sump from the overflow from all the organics that were in the water from the paint. Since recovered, I've realized that I think some of the algae in here that's been growing on the back or whatnot, some of the carpet-like algae seems to like the paint thinner.
Okay.
Because it seemed to explode after the tank catastrophe. But it's since come under control, and we're moving back in. So I ended up losing a huge colony of frog spawn that literally was about to breach the surface of the water on this side, and that's since gone. One little remnant remaining back here that's hanging on, and that's pretty much what's left of that. But it must have been probably 60 or 70 heads of frog spawn. I've always liked acrylic. When this tank was built, I had 2 very small children, and they were inside the tank, but I just felt more comfortable having acrylic with kids around, and wanted everything to be nice and safe. Plus, I could get things built the way that I want. You'll see that the structure in the back basically was centered around Tunze wave boxes, so that if I decided to use the back of the tank and conceal my pumps, I could still get a wave box effect in the tank just by capping all the holes except for one.
And I'd noticed that at first I couldn't really see the pumps, and then you've got the pumps that are hidden behind the back wall, and it's actually a really neat design.
My goal was I like to keep as much out of the tank as possible. So the most recent addition is actually this gyre here. That was just out of necessity for additional flow because I've had some issues with pumps over time, not necessarily Tunze pumps, but other pumps that I've purchased. And so we're just trying to get enough circulation in here so I don't have an issue with algae like we had after the paint entering the tank.
Well, it's a fantastic looking tank. I mean, I know from my own experiences when these crashes happen, you feel like giving up, but it's unfortunate, but things come and go as fads
Right.
instead of being something that's just an animal that is loved by the hobby and stays around. And you really have some great corals here.
Well, thank you. I think that's the best part, is having a tank for a significant length of time where you've grown things in.
Yeah.
And everything's filled up. And I mean, before this crash happened, I hadn't been to a fish store probably in years, because there was no need for me to go find additional critters because I didn't have any room anymore. And now going back out, and even at ReefAPalooza today, seeing the amount of stuff that's out there is just absolutely amazing. And there's some strange things, which, like, what is it, bounce anemones, or
Yeah.
I have no idea what those are, but I'm intrigued.
Me and Joe were talking about it, and apparently, from what I understand, it's a rhodactis that just is so well nutritionally cared for that, in lighting conditions and everything else, that the tentacles start to inflate. I don't fully understand it, but apparently a lot of rhodactis mushrooms can become bounce mushrooms in the right conditions.
Well, I used to have something called a Kruppuk leather. I don't even know if you all even know what those are, but I mean, I just don't see them when I'm out at the store anymore. It's
Yeah.
just a different time, and everything comes so small.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I mean, this is a garden, and
Yeah.
you buy your seedlings and you grow them out and make it what you want it to be. I think I'm 66 long by 24 front to back by 24 up and down, which gives me, I think, an internal volume with the 1-inch acrylic took out about 147 gallons. And then I've got an additional sump in the back, so the total volume of the system is about 210 gallons. For me, I've never been an acro kind of person. I like LPS and softies. Anything torch, anything Euphilia related, I like. I just picked up a new elegance coral at ReefAPalooza today, because that's one I had for many, many years when I first started out in the hobby. It did extraordinarily well for me. It got very big. I like the tentacles, which you get with Euphilia and the cataphilia, and I like the flowing nature you get with, like, the toadstools or the finger leathers. You know, even the green star polyps, they let you see kind of what's happening in the tank and the flow, and it can be very soothing. The acros, I think they're great. I really would like them. I don't know. I don't have the patience to keep them. There's a requisite increased level of husbandry that's required for them, which I don't have. My approach to my fish tanks is basically very Darwinian. So it goes in, and whatever is in here has survived, and which means it'll probably maintain in longevity, and unless something happens, like painters spraying paint into your fish tank. The other thing I like is the tridactyd clamps, and it's been ever since I've been in this hobby. It's been tridactyds that have really fascinated me. Used to have a very large Gigas, probably a good 8 to 10 inch Gigas that sadly broke a hinge on a trip across country. You know, it wasn't 8 to 10 inches when I got it. These are things you grow out, right? And I think that's the beauty of this hobby, is that you can get something very small and then it becomes a showpiece. Like, this huge toadstool here came in and it was the size of a quarter stuck to the side of a tridactyd clam when I got it. And this is what you have now. And I think, if you provide it with what it needs, you get out of it this beautiful thing, this centerpiece. I mean, Joe and I were talking about this earlier. I mean, if you look at old pictures of J.P. Burleson's aquarium, this was the kind of thing that was in that aquarium. Motorized ball valves, whatever he had, but I mean, you just don't see magnificent centerpieces like this that are available for sale anymore. You have to put the time, the effort, the energy in to grow them out. And then you get rewarded with getting to come home and sit on my bench in front of this and just look at my tank. My approach to aquarium keeping is window on ocean, equipment minimized. And what I loved about the Kessels was that it's like a hockey puck. And it doesn't really intrude upon your ability to visualize what's going on in the aquarium. So it's very unobtrusive. Initially, this was all Aqua Illumination AI Souls. I think these were upgraded to Vegas or Hydras, maybe is what they were. But I mean, the Kessels really provide, in terms of unobtrusiveness, that was my main goal, is that they're not obtrusive, but yet they give you the pop. I love the fact that they, regardless of what color temperature you want to have, it controls the corals get the perfect spectrum, regardless of how you want it to look, which makes the lights, I think, really phenomenal. They provide a very nice look to the tank. And then, I grew up in the age where it was all metal halides, right? And so with metal halides, there's a shimmer. People talk about the shimmer. Some people, younger folks, maybe don't care about the shimmer, but to me, that shimmer effect that you get in the tank, I mean, I dive, and this is what, when you're under the water in 30 feet of water, this is what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I want recreated in here, is that feeling that you're just, it's a window on the ocean without having to, realize there's tons of other equipment that's involved with this to make it happen, right?
One thing I was going to ask you, I'd like to get you another 6105, but the holes are smaller than the new 6105 pumps. If I got you one, would you be able to somehow integrate it?
Oh, that probably would not be an issue. So I've actually got old 6105 covers still in the back that.
Well, but now the propellers are bigger and won't fit those.
I had all Tunze in this tank, and then ended up purchasing the Neptune waves, which in my opinion were a disaster. I think I have one that's left running on this side. The one that was over here ended up failing, let's see here, a year and 1 month into the warranty period, which meant that they wouldn't honor the warranty on it. But with those pumps, they wouldn't fit either, right? And so I ended up having to make some modification to get them snugged up into the hole to make it work. So yeah, this was not future-proofed by me. This was definitely designed for an older model Tunze, but it's we can work around that. So this is the back of the tank. So it actually pokes through the wall, and then each of these chambers would be the wave boxes that I designed originally for the older Tunze pumps. Now I've got two 6055s on this side here. I've got a newer 6105, not as new, here. And then on this side here is the last remaining wave pump that I've got on the tank. And then overflow is, I guess, a Herbie style with emergency overflow controlled by gate valves. All that flows down into my sump, the main sump here, which is very simple, just overflow. If need be, I've got filter sock that I use, which I'm currently using because, of course, I'm having company over to look at the tank. I have been using UV since the paint in the tank because I had some dinoflagellate issues with that going on as well. Otherwise, there's really nothing else in the sump except for 2 heaters, and that's pretty much it. Very simple, very Berlin-style approach to reef maintenance. The more simple you keep it, the easier it is for you to keep up with the husbandry that you need to do to maintain a tank. So I designed this in a 3D modeling software called SketchUp, and it allowed me to basically fit into this space. Originally, this space, the hole for this tank was 48 inches in length, and so I had to basically open the wall up, frame in a new header, and then within those dimensions I designed a tank that would fit in here, and then sent those specs over to James at Envision Acrylics, and he did a fantastic job building the tank for me.
Such a nice idea to use the space under the staircase.
Yeah, this is what a wave box would be if you bought it from Tunze. So it's just basically a box with one hole, and you put a pump in it and let it blow water out and let water come back in and blow water out and come back in. The main thing was just I wanted the pumps hidden. So I don't want things to be seen, right? And so that was the impetus for doing it this way, to hide the pumps. And then while I was at it, why not make it so that you can, if you want to run a wave box in this tank, you're perfectly capable of doing it. These guys here were put on kind of an emergency situation, and I haven't had the time to, I can move them forward and, stick them out of the hole a little bit and then put something in the back to hold them. But this is, as you can see, it's not even wired in correctly. It's just here because I needed flow when this thing failed, because without flow in the tank, you end up with problems with algae and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, Jeff, thanks so much for having us over, and your tank's beautiful. I really hope the frog spawn recovers to its full glory from seeing the photos. Please, if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe to our channel.
Happy to have you all. Good time.